drumming faster, then faster. The shadow, which was no longer a shadow, lifted its head and let out a long howl. "Good," said the other. "Good," said the shadow, now a beast, and for the first time in ages heard its own voice echoing off the cave walls. "Are you still hungry?" "Yes." "Would you like more blood?" "Yes." "There is more above." The beast looked up, spotted a sliver of light at the top of a long, craggy shaft. "What is your name?" asked the other. "I do not remember," replied the beast. "You will. Oh, but you will. And so will they." "Samson!" Abitha called, trying to quell the rising panic in her voice. She moved quickly, following the split-toed tracks as they wove through the shocks of dried cornstalks. She knew the goat couldn't have gone far, as she'd just seen the beast not an hour before. She reached the edge of the field and stopped, scanning the dense Connecticut woods. The trees, even at the dead end of winter and with all their leaves shed upon the cold earth, swallowed the light, making it difficult to see more than 100 paces forward. "Samson!" she called again. "Sam!" The chill air made mist of her words. She noted the heavy clouds above, could see dusk would be upon her soon. If she didn't find Samson by dark, then the wolves or one of the wild men surely would. Yet she hesitated, knowing how easy it was for a soul to enter that wood and never come out. She looked back to the cabin, debated fetching the musket. Deciding there was no time, she sucked in a deep breath, hefted the hem of her grey woolen skirt, and forced herself into that murky maze of trees. She followed the tracks around a knot of blackberry vines and down an embankment, doing her best not to slip in the half-thawed mud and leaves. The branches and brambles tugged at her coat and long skirt. A limb caught her bonnet, pulling it from her head, unbinding her long auburn hair. She reached for the bonnet and her foot slipped out from beneath her, sending her sliding down the slope and into a boggy ravine. "Hell and hell!" Abitha cried, then glanced furtively about. There was no one out here, but being careful had become habit, as she well knew the price should one of the sect hear her curse so. She grabbed a branch and made to stand, but the branch snapped, sending her over onto her hands and knees, the muck sucking the boots from her feet. "Son of a whore!" she cried, this time not caring who heard. Abitha spat out a speck of mud and began digging for her boots, found them and tugged them from the bog. She tried shaking out the mud. When that didn't work, she began raking out the muck, the hard leather biting into her half-frozen fingers. When the pain became too much, she stopped, clutching her numb hands to her chest, trying to regain some warmth. "Samson!" she called, searching the soggy bog, scanning the endless wilderness, wondering how a girl from London ever ended up in such a brutal, unforgiving land. She felt the sting of tears and wiped at the corners of her eyes with the backs of her wrists, smearing mud across her cheeks. "Stop with the tears. You're not a child anymore." She let that sink in for a moment. "Nay, be 20 come spring. A woman now, and a married one at that." Her brow tightened as she tried to count the months, realizing she'd been married nearly 2 years. Found it all so hard to accept. A husband, a farm, the Puritans, especially the Puritans and their austere way of life. And all her days she'd been led to believe she'd be a maid to some lord or lady. Not much of a life, to be sure, but at least she'd not fear starving come each winter. Did not turn out so, did it, Abby? Nay, father certainly saw to that.